Okay, so today we're reacting to Is Sukuna Ruining Jujutsu Kaisen? And I'd say I have not middling opinions about this, but I understand where people are coming from. But there are a certain group of people that, simply put, are just upset that certain things happen in the story. But we'll get straight into it. We'll watch a little bit of this clip. This is from the Restless Gambler, I'm pretty sure his YouTube channel is. So yeah, make sure you go subscribe to him, go check out the full video there, but obviously we'll get straight into it, you know what I'm saying?
Ryomen Sukuna is one of, if not the most important character in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, but with such importance, Sukuna fills a role that's destined to drive a lot of hate towards him. That role is none other than the main antagonist. Right now, we're seeing Sukuna run a gauntlet on our heroes, and in today's video, let's talk about why Sukuna might actually be a problem. What's up guys, Versus Gambly here, and in today's video, we'll be going over all the discourse regarding Sukuna and why Sukuna is being said to be Jujutsu Kaisen's biggest problem. If you enjoy JJK videos like these, go ahead and subscribe. You get more videos and we'll both be happy.
Bro, that used to be me, man.
Since chapter 212 of the manga, Sukuna has been on a constant rampage, killing or at the very least defeating everyone he faces in the lines of combat. He started off by defeating Angel in a last-ditch effort to stop the sorcerer from using Jacob's ladder a second time. He then realizes that he got nerfed against Yuji, but proceeded to 1v2 both Maki and Yuji and got away mostly unscathed. He goes on to kill Yorozu before having a war declared directly to him from none other than Gojo Satoru. All these things he's been doing weren't something of trouble for people. People loved it in fact. But once Sukuna reached his full power and stepped into the final battlefield, it all went downhill. Sukuna goes on to extreme diff Gojo Satoru, killing him and becoming even stronger in the process. Kashimo pulls up looking to learn a lesson and he gets killed. Yuji and Higuruma arrives to fight Sukuna and Sukuna kills Higuruma. Yuta arrives to fight Sukuna with Yuji and Sukuna supposedly kills Yuta. Maki arrives to fight Sukuna alone until Yuta comes back and Sukuna goes on to hit her with a black flash, taking her out of the picture. But it's that's the problem people have been having with Sukuna. I like to call it the Sukuna cycle. To explain what the cycle is, I'll go through the steps and show how it's been present throughout this entire ordeal. It starts off with a character pulling up to fight Sukuna.
Okay, let's go a bit back, obviously. I'm not going to stop the video too many times. This is the main point though I want to kind of touch on. So let's go back. The whole Sukuna is ruining JJK started with Gojo. It started with the whole Gojo and Sukuna fight. People didn't like the fact that Sukuna was a lot stronger than they thought. And that's the simplest way I can put it. A lot of guys, even to this day, still believe Hollow Purple should have one-shot Sukuna, but again, that wasn't ever... Hollow Purple, to normal sorcerers, is a one-shot ability, but to Sukuna, it's not. He's powerful enough to take it. You get what I'm trying to say? A lot of people, I think just in general, just underrated Sukuna's power, and that's the reason why people are feeling a lot of whiplash when they're seeing, Gojo get packed. Excuse me. By the way, for anyone who hasn't obviously got to this point in the manga, then obviously make sure to click off the video because this is going to be spoilers. But, people are getting a lot of whiplash from Gojo getting packed because they thought Gojo was, Gojo and Sukuna were here when realistically Sukuna was, you know what I'm trying to say? Even during that battle, again, a lot of people think that he needed Maharaga to win, where even though there's been multiple points, even other YouTubers have said it themselves, that like Sukuna essentially is always fighting handicapped. And it wasn't because Gojo forced him to fight handicapped, it's because Sukuna wanted to have an ability that can get past infinity without using domain expansion or domain application. It wasn't that, like, let me put it like this, it's very heavily implied that essentially Sukuna with his domain expansion could have killed Gojo right there and then, especially if he was in his full arm form. But, and the reason why I'm saying it's implied is because Gojo even says it himself, Sukuna is stronger than him by a lot. Like, he doesn't know even if he went full all out, he could beat him. And this is even further backed up in the series, seeing as Gege has confirmed. Actually, I'm not even sure if it was Gege that said this, but domain expansions is the peak of Jujutsu. You get what I'm trying to say? So a lot of people, they should have realized once he hit that first domain expansion and cracked Gojo's domain expansion that it was downhill from there. It was downhill from there. So, yeah. A lot of people just don't understand that Sukuna is as powerful as he is. And now getting onto the Sukuna cycle, again, I'll touch upon this a lot more at the end. Essentially, people are upset at the fact that they're throwing everybody out and Sukuna is just killing them. I understand why you're upset, but it makes a lot more sense when you realize who's being thrown out. I know people understand, but it's at the same time, it's like you can't really have expected, you know, Yuji, Yuta, Maki to do that much. But we'll get onto that at the end of the video. Obviously, I want to keep this going though.
Does end up fighting them, but then they show off, doing something insane against the King of Curses. This big display hypes up the fandom, leading them to believe Sukuna is about to get cooked. But lo and behold, the final step of the cycle is that Sukuna just ends up cooking them. Before even going into how it's present, you probably already connected the dots. Gojo versus Sukuna. A new character pulls up on Sukuna to fight him. During this specific fight, there were tons and tons of displays for Gojo to hype up the fandom. To go over them, we got chapter 226 when Gojo shoots Sukuna into his shrine, disabling the domain expansion altogether. We also have chapter 229 when Gojo manages to damage Sukuna enough to the point where he gets his domain expansion off 0.01 seconds faster. This led to Gojo finally being able to attack Sukuna while he's completely vulnerable, almost leading to his win. This is mirrored in another reader hype moment in chapter 232 as Gojo knocks Sukuna out with a Black Flash, the strongest Black Flash we have ever seen in the series. But now we enter the last moment of this step, chapter 235. Gojo was able to kill Agito in the chapter prior, bait Sukuna into believing he would shoot Reversal Red at him, and combine both blue and red to create his ultimate technique, Hollow Purple. This moves us on to the third step, where this hype moment leads the reader to believe that Sukuna is cooked. Kusakabe actually exemplifies this beautifully here, as he literally takes the last quote of the chapter, saying that Gojo wins. But then we enter the next chapter and he's dead. And that's step 4 of the cycle. This cycle resets in literally the same chapter as Kashimo pulls up with a fire ass double spread. That's step 1. Step 2, a hype moment. Kashimo fights without his curse technique for like one panel and gets blocked, but then he turns it on and starts pummeling Sukuna. Given the fact that Sukuna was heavily weakened from his fight with Gojo, majority assumed this guy Kashimo actually had a chance. But less than 12 chapters later, I'm not even kidding, Kashimo dies. But don't worry, because the cycle continues as Higuruma and Yuji pull up. Surely they will end Sukuna, right? Step 1, pull up. Step 2, go crazy. Step 3, give the readers hope, and step 4, die. This happens in literally the same way with Yuta as well, as he pulls up, goes crazy, gives the readers hope, and dies instantly. Heck, it literally just happened again. In the same exact chapter Yuta falls victim to the Sukuna cycle, Maki pulls up. She goes crazy in the next chapter with her throwing Sukuna around. She gives the reader hope with her soul slashing sword, but then gets violated by probably the second strongest Black Flash we've ever seen in the entire story. The Sukuna cycle is strong, and it's bad enough that Kusakabe has entered the battle in step 1. But with that said, does this pose an actual problem in the story? Well, yes and no. I do empathize with the people who believe that this is redundant. The fact that the battle Sukuna has had can be reduced to such a low level cycle is crazy, and I do think Gege should have done more to make things more complicated and chaotic. Earlier when I said step 3 was that everyone believed Sukuna could get cooked, I meant to use that word lightly because it was incredibly obvious that no one that was in the cycle was going to defeat Sukuna. During the Gojo fight, if someone with more than a surface level reading comprehension believed that Gojo defeating Sukuna was a good idea writing wise, I don't know what to tell them. It's been established since chapter 11 of the manga that the next generation were going to be the forefront of the battle. If Gojo defeated Sukuna, what the hell would the next generation be there for? Gojo would have killed Yorame and Kenjaku right after, so there was no need for anyone to do any training or anything of the sort. It also would have reinforced another problem people have with the series, the Gojo problem, where Gojo just wipes everyone's asses after the smoke settles and wins the day for everyone.
Okay. I'm gonna let go for 30 more seconds, but I also want to speak about that as well. Like, really.
Garbage. So this conversation is insanely nuanced because while Sukuna doing the same shit over and over again can get repetitive, it's also something that shouldn't be shadowed just because of its nature. The nature of Sukuna winning. Sukuna winning against a couple of teenagers and rookie sorcerers with experience so low that they don't know the full extent of their curse techniques isn't illogical. But people want...
Okay. Yeah, exactly. He's going to go into kind of what I also want to speak about as well. But again, let's go back to Gojo. So, again, with the Black Flash thing, that should have been a red flag for a lot of the Gojo fans that feel like Gojo should have won in the first place as well. Gojo hit a Black Flash against Sukuna because he was excited. The only time we've seen Sukuna hit a Black Flash was in the last recent chapter, where he hit a Black Flash against Marky, and the reasoning why was because he was excited to fight somebody without cursed energy, because it went against his ideals. So again, him fighting Gojo wasn't really something that he thought was super up there. You get what I'm trying to say? So another thing I also want to point out is that, because people are upset obviously that Sukuna is beating everybody, and they're thinking, oh, all the MCs, they can't beat him, no one's having their moment. You do realize that Gojo, whenever he was in a fight, he just didn't lose. The only time he ever lost was obviously against Sukuna. Obviously Toji, but then he came back and he got his run back, and then, because, you know what I'm saying? And Kenjaku kind of, because he got sealed, but he didn't really lose. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, Gojo, he's a loser. Not obviously in the bad way. I'm talking about in terms of the series. He loses a lot, but it wasn't really his fault every single time except for Sukuna. That's the only time he ever lost, like, you know, legit one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? Obviously Toji again, but that was before he awakened. So, but if people saw Gojo, you know, kill Sukuna, kill Kenjaku, kill Uraume, you know what I'm saying, and did all these things and saved Jujutsu Kaisen Society, then I'm just saying there would be a good portion of people that would have been like, oh, JJK's the best, 10 out of 10 series, and it's like, that's bad writing. Just looking at it, it's bad writing. Because then, what was the point of Yuji? What's the point of Yuta coming back? What was the point of all these characters if Gojo could have just hollow purple to Sukuna and then done? And does it even make sense that if you know Sukuna is 1,000 years old, that he's never fought a 6-eyes user before? I'm not sure if it was confirmed or not. I don't think it is confirmed whether or not he's fought a 6-eyes user, but he clearly doesn't see 6-eyes Limitless as something that is particularly interesting. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, he finds his strength good, but he doesn't see it as particularly interesting. You get what I'm trying to say? And for him, for Sukuna, obviously it was more of a thing of he just wanted to have an ability that he could just pull out just like that and take out a Limitless user, or someone who has some type of ability that goes like that. You get what I'm trying to say? So all I'm going to say is this, so that when it comes to Gojo needed to die for the story. And I think we all know this. I think we've all kind of moved past that, but obviously there are some guys that are saying, oh, the story was more entertaining when Gojo was around. It's because he was your favorite character. And I'm going to say this honestly, yeah, Sukuna is my favorite character, but I also really like Gojo. He was my second favorite character. You get what I'm trying to say? So I'm not trying to be like, oh, you guys are just upset, because I understand why a lot of, you know, the Gojo fans are upset. Now, with the Sukuna cycle, if we get into that, the Sukuna cycle, you got to understand it like this, and I think a lot of people don't see it like this. This series is not meant to be read week on week on week. Obviously, the chapters release every week, and you can read it like that. But all of these fights, these series of fights, are meant to happen split seconds. So, Gojo gets packed, Kashimo hops in, Kashimo gets packed, Higuruma hops in, Higuruma and Yuji hops in, get packed, Yuta and Yuji hop in, get packed. That's what's meant to be happening. It's meant to be super fast paced, people are coming in trying to defeat the King of Curses, and they lose. That's what Gege is, at least that's what I assume is the intention of what Gege is trying to do here. Now, obviously there are a couple of plot holes, well not plot holes, but a couple of like low moments during that point. Obviously Kashimo, him losing as quick as he did was a bit disappointing, but I think what Gege was trying to go with was that Kashimo was Gojo. And if Sukuna went all out once, then that's what would have happened to Gojo. I think that's what the parallel he was trying to make. Obviously, Kashimo wasn't stronger than Gojo, but him being the strongest in his era is kind of what gave him that prestige. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm not saying Gojo and Kashimo are equal, but I'm saying that's, I think, the narrative he was trying to put out. As in, if Sukuna went all out, this is what would have happened to Gojo in a couple of chapters. Again, I might be wrong about that. Again, I know there's going to be some people that disagree and say, no, Gojo's gonna... But I'm not trying to say Gojo was weak. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, if Sukuna went all out, straight off rip, forearm form, domain expansion, chanting in the domain, yeah, it'd have been up. You get what I'm trying to say? Again, another plot hole, well, not really a plot hole, but again, another thing that was a bit contrived was when they took away the I forgot what it's called now, the Kamitoke from Sukuna inside of the trial. Again, that's the one thing I'll actually give you guys, that was a little bit contrived. But at the same time, you can also argue that Sukuna just has a lot of experience, you know, fighting, that he knew that something like this was going to happen, like if he went through a domain like that, because he didn't even try to fight his case. He just said, screw it, I don't care, trial me, whatever. He just said, I don't care, and nothing happened to him. You get what I'm trying to say? And I think maybe that could also go towards his mindset and philosophy, which is just, I will do whatever I want. You get what I'm trying to say? So there are many other avenues you can still look at that whole situation. If you want to call it contrived, I wouldn't stop you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be the one to say that wasn't contrived. It was a little bit contrived. But as for the Sukuna cycle, you can't expect these guys to go ahead and beat Sukuna. They're no more than 19, 20, 21 years old. You get what I'm trying to say? They've barely been studying Jujutsu when Sukuna's about 1,000 years old. Gojo was about 30. What do you expect to happen? So, I understand why people are like, oh, this is meaningless, contrived, you know, long, boring. But when you're reading it as it's all come out, you know, once you reread it all and you can just go straight through all the chapters, you're going to be like, oh, this arc was actually really cool. It's just that because now every week you're basically just waiting for someone to come out and lose to Sukuna. That's why you're saying it's boring. But if you're able to watch it all, or not watch it, but read it, binge read it all in one go, I think people will have a lot more positive reviews and positive reactions to this Sukuna fight. Because people are more so just upset that obviously their favourite characters are getting packed off one by one every single week. That's what I think it really is. Now, let's say this goes on for an extra 10 more chapters. Okay, then I would be a bit like, okay, Gege needs to chill out a bit. But I think it's coming to the point where it's like we're seeing the conclusion. Excuse me. And the reason why I think we're going to see the conclusion soon is because I think what Gege is trying to do, especially with this whole Sukuna fight, is he's essentially trying to do the whole, you know, history repeats itself type thing. So, back in the Heian era, what happened? Everyone went to fight Sukuna and they all died. For a lack of a better term, they all went out to fight Sukuna and they failed. Now the modern era, everyone wants to go fight Sukuna and they failed. I think that's what Gege is going for. So I think a lot of people, rather than complaining about the writing, say it's contrived, saying it's boring, saying it's trash, give it some time. Give it some time, you feel me? Let Gege cook, because I don't think Gege is particularly, you know, ruining the story with anything that they're doing. You get what I'm trying to say? We still don't know what's happening with Akari and Uruume, and we don't even know who's dead or alive at this point because Ui has been taking them back to get healed. We don't know what they're planning up next. We don't know, you know, what Yuji can fully do. We still don't know his full potential. There's still avenues to go by, and I think a lot of people are jumping the gun because they're like, Gojo's dead, no one's gonna save her. It's like, let Gege cook. I'm not saying the story can't go in a wrong turn, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it can't go left, you know what I'm saying? Because you never know, Sukuna might just get, I don't know, power of friendship to Megami's like, no, my friend. Even though we kind of ruled that one out. But you never know. Megami might just be like, no, my friends. And then suddenly just suppress Sukuna or whatever. Obviously, that can happen. Even though that was the plan, but it failed. So you never know. That could happen, but I doubt it's going to happen because Gege's trying to get rid of that. I think Gege's trying to make a position where someone can actually go toe-to-toe with Sukuna. Or at the very least, outsmart and beat Sukuna. But we won't find that out unless we continue reading, unless we let Gege cook, as I've been saying. So, yeah, that's basically just all my thoughts about the Sukuna cycle. Is Sukuna ruining JJK? I don't think he is. I think it's just people are upset that their favorite characters are getting packed off one by one. That's legit all I think it is. And I don't blame you. I'd be upset if I was like, yeah, Utah, and then next chapter he's doing a Gojo. I'd be upset too. I'm not gonna lie to you. So yeah, Sukuna, he's not ruining it. And to be honest, a lot of the guys that are saying that they want to drop JJK, a lot of them end up coming back anyways every single week to find out what happened. So JJK is fine, man. JJK is fine. Just let Gege cook. But I know this end bit was a little bit long, so obviously I'm going to end the video off here. But thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Make sure to comment down below, you know, your thoughts, what you think about JJK, what you think maybe they could have done better, you know, if you agree with me, disagree with me, you know what I'm saying? Just make sure to leave that all in the comments below. And again, I do video essays, so I'm not sure if that you guys know this, because, you know, might be some new viewers here, might be some returning viewers. You know, make sure to go check those out. I did a Batman Arkham Asylum video essay, and I've done a Sukuna season 2 video essay. That's the best way I can put it. It's more so on his philosophy. So if you want to go check that out, that'll probably be on the end card somewhere. But yeah, other than that, you know, hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.